Our C of prance is to call back to a story and make a point. You could also think of our C as just Craig Valentine, but really what we need to remember is to connect to the audience, to have common ground with the audience. And a callback, a story, and a memorable point are all ways to connect with the audience and to have common ground. I'm going to let Craig Valentine introduce himself to you and show you a little bit of his style. So following this lecture, I'll have that clip on the playlist as well. You can see a picture of him there, Craig Valentine. I just always learn from him and enjoy him, and I hope you do too. You can follow many of his clips. So our 5 is to call back, to connect. Our E of prance is to extemporaneously deliver. There's a lot packed into this point. Okay, extemporaneously deliver. That means that we have prepared, we have researched, we have notes, we have an outline. We are so practiced and prepared and professional that we can actually speak conversationally directly to our audience without seeming rote or memorized, like we're glued to a script. It may seem counterintuitive, but the more that we have prepared, the more casual we will seem. And again, I call the example of Kevin Hart because when you have stand-up comedy, that is actually so rehearsed to every specific moment and the timing of everything. You know that comedy has a lot to do with timing. You've got to rehearse to get all that potential humor that you have in seemingly pretty simple stories. When you see Kevin Hart's example, he's going to tell some simple stories and they're going to be hilarious and you'll want to watch it all over again. I know I do. I never get tired of it. It's because he's prepared so well to get the maximum amount of enjoyment for his audience out of those moments and to create common ground with them and to have that experience. But extemporaneously deliver means you are giving something to the audience as a gift. You've really drawn out of it all of the riches that are there. Now we've concluded with prance, so we're ready to build our speech. Building our speech involves making an introduction, which is a solid foundation having a rhetorical purpose and a preview of our main points. Transitions are the mortar, okay? So if you think about the introduction as the foundation of our building, obviously that is so important. Transitions are the mortar, that glue that we put in between the bricks. And the conclusion is the roof that we put on top of that building. I think sometimes we forget how important a conclusion is, and that's why I like using the example of it being a roof, because how protected is everything precious that you've put in a building going to be if you just leave off the roof? You know, it's just going to all fly away and all the debris is going to be in there. It's prone to the elements. In the same way that a roof is essential for a building, a conclusion is essential to finishing a really good speech. And I will give a caveat here. Sometimes when I give you examples of speeches in this class, if it's either a clip from a speech, maybe we don't get to see the conclusion of that, so keep that in mind. Or if you don't listen all the way to the conclusion, we may be missing in seeing how they would conclude. I would encourage us not to underestimate the conclusion. Now, to talk more about the introduction, first, I want to define for us rhetorical purpose. If you haven't heard this phrase before, this is unique vocabulary to public speaking, college level public speaking, and it basically means the thesis. You've probably written a paper before in late middle school and high school and college. A research paper has a thesis statement. Well, a speech has rhetorical purpose, whether it be a short speech or a 10-minute, 20-minute speech. That's the main purpose that you're giving the speech for. And your introduction is going to go ahead and clearly state the rhetorical purpose. It won't be like, this is my rhetorical purpose, da, 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 da. No, it won't use those words. It will be like all good speeches. It will be beautifully embedded into the fabric of your speech. You know, it will be wrapped inside of a clever story that you're introducing with. You might kind of repeat it, keep coming back to it, but your rhetorical purpose will be there in your introduction. The other thing in your introduction will be a preview of your main points. A good speech probably has 3, maybe 5 main points. It's kind of like that classic 5-paragraph essay, you know, and of course with a speech, there's going to be a lot more creativity and flexibility, but it's still going to have some main points that are going to build. And your introduction is going to tell your rhetorical purpose and preview those main points. So again, the introduction